Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are jumping straight into, well, probably the most fiercely competitive bit of the car market right now.
Absolutely. The electric B segment hatchback is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, where, affordability is supposed to meet everyday usability. And for 2025, wow, we've got a proper three-way fight on our hands.
It really is a fight. We've got the updated Opel Corsa Electric. Then there's the completely new, very stylish Renault 5 Electric.
And the Peugeot 208 Electric, which has had a refresh and seems to be pushing hard on range.
Exactly. They're all compact, all electric, obviously. But the interesting thing is, they're really targeting quite different buyers, different priorities.
So our mission today is basically to give you the shortcut. We want to cut through all the specs for 2025 and figure out the real trade-offs.
Right. Like which car is best if you absolutely need the longest range?
Or if maybe style and price are your main concerns.
And what about just how the car feels to drive? Which one actually wins on that front?
Yeah. Okay, but before we dive into the tech specs, I've got a slightly different question for you, just for fun.
Go on then.
If you were picking me up for, let's say, a pretty formal gala event this weekend, which one of these three little electric hatchbacks are you turning up in?
Okay, a gala event. That changes things. Needs a bit of presence, doesn't it?
Exactly. Style, budget, range. You got to pick one. Make an entrance.
Hmm. Okay. Well, thinking purely about making that entrance, that first impression, I think I'd have to go for the Renault 5 Electric.
Really? The Renault?
Yeah. The sources we looked at kept highlighting its iconic design, that retro feel. It's just got personality,
It's
It's a statement. You wouldn't mistake it for anything else.
Okay, but hang on. Isn't the Renault 5 the one that's being marketed as the cheapest, most accessible of the three? Does pulling up in the budget option really scream formal gala?
See, that's a fair point. You might think the Peugeot 208, maybe. It's described as more dynamic, a bit sportier,
Right. Maybe a bit more prestige.
perhaps. But I think the 208 is trying to be a bit of everything. The R5, it knows what it is. It's got character, and that little illuminated 5-foot logo on the bonnet.
The one that shows the battery level when it's charging?
That's the one. It's clever, it's stylish. I think people who appreciate design, that kind of heritage nod, they'd get it, regardless of the price. It's got charm.
Okay, see your point. Bold choice. I'll be waiting for you this weekend then. Let's just hope my gala dress fits in the back.
We might need some very careful packing. But that actually leads us perfectly into the core of this deep dive.
The trade-offs.
Exactly. The tension we found in all the source material is right there. Style versus budget versus practicality versus range. These cars, they're pretty close in price, right? Roughly 30,000 euro up to maybe 36,500.
Yeah, not a huge spread.
But strategically, they're engineered to appeal to really different instincts in buyers.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Where should we start? Maybe with what lots of EV buyers think about first, range. Being able to do those medium trips without getting range anxiety.
Good plan. And that brings us straight to the two siblings, the Peugeot 208 and the Opel Corsa. They share that Stellantis platform.
Right, they're kind of the benchmarks for range in this class, aren't they?
They are. And Peugeot, well, they've really doubled down on positioning the 208 Electric as the absolute range champion. It's worth remembering this isn't just a minor tweak.
No, it was already selling really well, wasn't it? Like, best-selling electric B-segment car in Europe last year.
That's what the sources said. So this upgrade is them pushing their advantage.
Okay, so give us the headline figure. How much range are we talking about now?
So the latest version, the one with the 156 horsepower motor, that's 115 kilowatts, it achieves 433 kilometers on the WLTP cycle.
433. Wow. Okay, and WLTP, that's the standard test, right? Worldwide Harmonized?
Worldwide Harmonized Light Vehicles Test Procedure, yeah. It's a lab test, sure, but it's the standard everyone uses for comparison. And hitting 433 kilometers, that's aimed squarely at people who need that cross-city, maybe even regional commute confidence.
Minimizing those charging stops. Makes sense. It's the best in the segment, then.
Yep. Best official range figure in its class right now.
But what's interesting is Peugeot isn't just about the raw range number. They seem to be packing in tech to help you actually use that range effectively, like that trip planner thing.
Exactly. That trip planner is a really key feature. It's not just your standard sat-nav. It actively optimizes your route based on your battery level right now, real-time traffic, even the hills on your route.
So it makes that 433-kilometer figure more, well, achievable in the real world.
Pretty much. It takes away some of the mental load of planning longer EV journeys.
And then there's this other thing mentioned, V2L. Vehicle-to-load pre-installation. That sounds quite techy.
It is, and it's a feature that I think often gets missed on spec sheets, but it's actually a huge deal, V2L.
So what does it actually let you do?
It basically turns your car into a massive mobile battery pack. The 208 can output power up to 3.5 kilowatts. So think about, I don't know, going camping and running lights or a small fridge.
Or maybe if the power goes out at home.
Exactly. Or using power tools somewhere remote. It makes the car more than just transport. It's like a utility tool as well.
Okay, that is genuinely useful, but there's usually a trade-off, right? All that tech, that big battery, does it compromise something else? Like space?
You guessed it. In the 208's case, it's the boot. It has the smallest luggage capacity of these three. Only 265 liters.
265 liters? Okay. Not tiny, but definitely smaller.
Which brings us nicely to its sibling, the Opel Corsa Electric. Same basic platform, lots of shared tech. But Opel seems to have aimed for a slightly different balance.
More towards practicality.
Exactly. Maximizing utility, everyday usability. While Peugeot chased the dynamic drive and those cutting-edge features like V2L.
Opel focus on fitting things in.
Kind of, yeah. Better packaging efficiency. Its range is still really competitive. Up to 429 kilometers WLTP with the same 51 kilowatt battery and 156 HP motor.
Wow, okay. So only 4 kilometers less than the Peugeot. That's barely anything.
Pretty much negligible in the real world. But where the Corsa clearly wins is that practicality point.
The boot space.
Yep. It's got the biggest boot here. 309 liters.
Okay, 309 versus 265. That's 44 liters more. That actually sounds like it could make a difference.
It really can. If you're trying to squeeze in bulky shopping or pushchair or, like you said, a fancy dress, that extra space makes the Corsa feel like the more robust, dependable choice.
The sensible shoes of the group.
Maybe the car for the family doing the school run or taking the dog out, it's maybe less exciting, but it nails that everyday practicality.
And the Corsa source has also flagged its efficiency, right? Something like 14.2 kilowatts per 100 kilometers. Why does that number matter?
Yeah, that's a really good efficiency figure for this size of car. It basically means the Corsa is very good at converting battery energy into distance traveled, less waste.
So lower running costs.
Lower running costs, definitely. And it also suggests the real-world range might hold up better across different conditions. Plus, it still charges quickly 10% to 80% in about 27 minutes on a 100-kilowatt DC charger. Same as a Peugeot, basically.
Okay, so we've got the Corsa and 208, both pushing close to 430-kilometer range. Great tech, but slightly different focuses Corsa on space, 208 on range and features. Premium choices, really.
Right. But like we said, not everyone needs or wants to pay for 430 kilometers of range. Sometimes style, or just a lower price, is the winner.
Which leads us to competitor number 3, the Icon Reborn.
The Renault 5 Electric, yeah. This car isn't really trying to beat the Corsa and 208 on their own terms on maximum range. It's playing a different game.
Price and sheer coolness.
Pretty much. It's designed to be the most accessible option here.
And the price definitely reflects that.
Absolutely. The estimates put the starting price somewhere around $30,000 to $33,000.
Compared to the Corsa and 208, which are both around, what, 34,000 or more?
Exactly. So that's potentially a few thousand euros saved right off the bat. For buyers on a tighter budget, that's a really big deal.
And we already touched on the design that's clearly a massive part of the appeal, that retro thing, reinventing the old 80s classic.
It really leans into it. And the sources describe it as darty and agile, which suggests it's optimized for city driving.
Right, quick steering, easy to park, that kind of thing. Perfect for nipping around town.
Precisely. It's built for the urban jungle, where maybe you don't need 400-plus kilometers of range every day.
But here's something really interesting. Even though it's the budget option, the R5 apparently includes a key bit of tech as standard that the others might charge extra for or not offer on base model.
Ah, yes, the heat pump.
That's it. Why is that so important?
Okay, so this is genuinely a big value add, especially if you live somewhere that gets cold in winter.
Right.
In most standard EVs, heating the cabin uses a simple resistive heater, kind of like a hairdryer element. It works, but it draws a lot of power directly from the main drive battery.
Which kills your range when it's cold.
Exactly. It can slash your range significantly. A heat pump is much smarter. It works more like an air conditioner in reverse, scavenging heat from the ambient air and the car's own systems to warm the cabin much more efficiently.
So it uses way less battery power to keep you warm.
Correct. Which means your actual driving range stays much closer to the official WLTP figure, even on cold days.
Okay, so the R5's official range, What is it?
Yeah.
406 kilometers with the bigger battery?
Yeah, up to 406 kilometers, the bigger battery.
Yeah, up to 406 kilometers WLTP with the 50 kilowatt battery. Still very competitive.
But with that standard heat pump, that 406 kilometers might actually be more reliable in winter than, say, a competitor's slightly higher number if they don't have a heat pump.
That's precisely the point. It's smart, practical engineering aimed at the everyday user, even if the absolute top-line range number isn't the segment best. And its boot space is pretty decent, too, around 300, 326 liters, so quite close to the Corsa.
Okay, right. We've covered a lot of ground here. We've got the Range King 208, the practical Corsa, and the stylish, value-focused R5. Let's try and pull this all together for the listener based on what they might prioritize.
Yeah, let's synthesize. I think we've seen three pretty distinct propositions emerge.
So if your absolute main goal is getting the maximum possible range, maybe for longer commutes or peace of mind on medium journeys, then you really have to look seriously at the Peugeot 208 Electric. That 433-kilometer figure, plus the smart trip planner and the V2L potential, that puts it right at the top for range and tech.
Okay. But what if it's less about the ultimate number and more about blending good range with maximum practicality fitting life into the car?
Then the Opel Corsa Electric becomes the really logical choice. You sacrifice, what, 4 kilometers of official range compared to the Peugeot, which is nothing? But you gain that significantly larger boot, 44 extra liters. Plus, it's proven to be very efficient.
The reliable all-rounder.
Pretty much. And thirdly, what if your priority is getting into an EV with bags of style, something fun, maybe for city use, and crucially, at the best possible price?
Then it has to be the Renault 5 Electric.
Without a doubt. Lowest starting price, that iconic design that really stands out, and that very valuable standard heat pump for maintaining range in the cold. It's the high-value, high-style choice.
And there was one other factor, the actual driving feel. Any clear winner there?
Well, the sources suggested that if you enjoy a slightly more engaging, maybe sportier drive, the Peugeot 208 Electric might just edge it. It seems tuned for a bit more dynamism compared to the Corsa's comfort utility focus or the R5's city agility.
So it really depends what you value most.
It does. And I like that analogy one of the sources used to sum up.
Oh yeah, that.
They said the Corsa is like the reliable, well-made suit, but with the biggest pockets, practical, dependable.
Okay.
The 208 is the sharply tailored suit, maybe with some high-tech fabric or finishing performance range, a bit more prestige.
Right.
And the Renault 5, that's the vintage, funky piece of clothing, costs less, makes you smile every time you put it on, and it's surprisingly clever in its own way.
That actually sums it up perfectly. It really shows how manufacturers are trying to carve out specific niches, even when the basic ingredients seem quite similar.
It does. And it leaves you, the buyer, with a really interesting final thought to mull over. In this compact EV world, what's actually more important for your long-term happiness with the car? Is it chasing that absolute maximum WLTP range number, even if maybe you don't use it all that often?
Yeah.
Or is it finding the sweet spot, the best possible balance between a price you're comfortable with, a design that you love seeing every day, and the kind of agility that works best for how you actually drive, especially in the city? That's the core trade-off here.
A brilliant question to leave us with, and that really defines this deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us today as we explored these really competitive little electric cars.
Pleasure's all mine.
We honestly love getting into the details like this and figuring out what really matters for you. So please do follow the channel so you never miss out on getting this kind of insight nice and quick. Thanks again for listening.